Hi, I hope you're all well. I'm starting to wind down a bit before I take a couple of weeks off for Christmas. But before I go, I wanted to share another video with you. This one's all about the low-code phenomenon and why it's so important now and why I think we're going to continue to see a lot more of it in the coming years. This is a bit longer than my usual videos, but I hope you'll stick with me to the end because there's quite a lot to say. So in the enterprise software industry, we've been talking about low-code tools for a few years now. But as is so often the case, the phenomenon that this label refers to has been around for actually much longer, although it has fallen in and out of fashion multiple times. The idea that software can be built using tools that abstract away implementation details has been around since the birth of COBOL, and tools that employ drag and drop graphical environments to enable builders to create applications or aspects of applications. It's been around since the rise of tools like Power Builder in the early 1990s. And by the way, don't know if you knew, but Power Builder is actually still going. There you go. But whereas this approach was historically focused primarily on the development of transactional business applications, in 2022, it seemed that every enterprise software vendor had something to say about low-code or no-code development tools. And quite apart from the explosion that we're seeing in the application development platform space, we can see vendors embracing this idea across AI lifecycle platforms, analytics and BI tools, application and data integration tools, workflow and process automation tools, enterprise applications, and even IT service and operations management platforms. Looking back over the history of this approach to development, it's cyclical. Every time a new kind of business technology platform emerges and becomes mainstream, early tools for the platform that typically are focused on pro developers who are able to leverage the platform to get some kind of competitive edge, they're joined by these low-code tools that really are all about enabling much broader communities of builders to get value out of the platform. And we saw this with mainframes, we saw it with PCs and client-server architectures, we saw it with early web and mobile, and now we're seeing it with clouds and as-a-service models. This time around the cycle, the value of low and no-code tools is most obviously in how they can help organizations overcome the huge development skills gaps that we see everywhere. And in IDC research, we do see them everywhere. And they do this by enabling non-specialists to act as builders when addressing some use cases, and also by enabling specialists and non-specialists to collaborate around other use cases. But there's more to the value of these platforms, and not all of that is obvious. And there are 2 points I want to highlight in particular. First is that when it comes to mainstream dev tools for pro developers, open source technologies are near ubiquitous. But for vendors, building sustainable and attractive revenue streams from packaging and supporting open source tech is really hard. And there are some vendors that can do it, but it's a tough place to try and grow a new business as a vendor. Low-code and no-code tools deliver a lot of value to organizations through their ability to enable faster and more collaborative delivery of solutions, as I've already said, but they are also by their very nature proprietary. Building sustainable, attractive revenue streams from proprietary software is much easier than doing it from packaging and supporting open source software. The second thing is that low-code and no-code tools, particularly when combined with the power of highly scalable underlying cloud platforms, are a very fertile environment for the delivery of, let's say, intelligent recommendation and generation features that further simplify and accelerate development, particularly for teams just starting out or for teams wanting to tackle common use cases. And importantly, these features also have potential to improve the stickiness of tools, and so making it easier for vendors to keep customers subscribing. So why is that? Why do the low-code and no-code tools create this fertile environment for machine learning and AI? It's because low-code and no-code tools are intertwined with pre-built application frameworks, layers of scaffolding if you like, that pre-specify much of what's needed to develop application elements like user interfaces, data access layers, and management code, application security code, and so on and so on. And that scaffolding then gets kind of filled in with high-level code or specifications that are created graphically that are in essence already kind of flagged as doing certain kinds of jobs because of where that code sits in the scaffolding, in the framework. And what this means is that if you're a vendor of one of these products and you want to implement a set of machine learning driven intelligent assistants for developers, the data that you need to train your machine learning algorithms so you can, for example, recommend a particular set of logic blocks to use in order to integrate to applications that somebody wants to integrate. That data is already pretty clean and its structure is already really well known to your machine learning specialists. And that's very different from working with a much more kind of open, low-level programming environment where you've got a whole bunch of code and it's not necessarily easy to understand what all that code is doing. And there's another wrinkle here, which is that with proprietary tools that are licensed, as a vendor, you can invite people to accept license terms that enable your teams to train algorithms on customers' code. You avoid the potential intellectual property risks associated with training algorithms on code that's, for example, freely submitted to GitHub, just as an example. So low-code and no-code tools are super valuable for organizations wanting to close their skills gaps and accelerate their work, but they're also really valuable for vendors too. And that's why we'll see much more of them over the coming months and years. Thanks very much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this, please like and share and subscribe. And I will see you in 2023. And in the meantime, for those of you who are taking some time away over the coming season, I wish you all a very peaceful and restful time.